degree that I received in 2005. And I spent many years in academia. I was at Northwestern University for several years, which is in Chicago, Illinois, and then moved over to the Northeast at Rutgers University, and recently joined the New Jersey Economic Development Authority in about a little under 2 years ago. And so my background in Master's in Library of Information Science has really been an asset to me in business research. So my roles at university and at the EDA have enabled me to leverage that skill to research companies, research contacts, find out where initiatives might be good partnerships for companies, and do that matchmaking process. So I'm a heavy consumer of news, and I use a lot of RSS feeds. I was an early Google Reader user, if you were a Google Reader user as well, but now I use something called NewsBlur, and I have about 100 sites that I track, including things like Biospace and Fierce Pharma, earnings call reports from our public companies in the state.
100 sites, how do you track them?
Track the websites? Yes, through RSS feeds mainly. So I have about those 100 sites that come into a feed reader called NewsBlur. And I have some keywords that I search across for New Jersey specific news. So that can help us amplify when somebody gets an FDA approval, or when someone gets funding, or M&A activity that happens in our state. We also at the EDA have a resource called Factiva, which is a Dow Jones product, which brings in thousands and thousands of news articles that you can screen across for business news.
It's amazing how public relations work changed over the decades. I still remember the 90s when we were reading newspapers, cut these snippets out, put it in a map, and handed it over to the decision maker. And now we can track everything automatically. Yes,
it is amazing. It is amazing to see how much and how to filter out all that noise too, because there's a lot of noise out there as well. And then how things like ChatGPT will affect how we consume information too will be interesting to watch.
Is it of value for your work? So tools like ChatGPT?
You know, it hasn't been something that I've leveraged too much. I've been talking to a few universities who have told me that they've been able to enter some of their non-confidential technologies into ChatGPT to figure out which companies could be good targets for those technologies. And so I think things like that could help that research process cut down significantly and be more efficient.
And in the public relations work at your institution, are you aware of some use cases that evolved that haven't been there last year?
Well, I think it's a great tool to plop in information to say, rework this to have a certain type of tone, or help give that framework. It's almost like a skeleton that it can give you to help then shape into more information. But I think we're just at the beginning. I think in 6 months from now, it's going to look totally different as people are adapting to ChatGPT and BARD and all those other technologies that are coming out.
I always wonder how it looks like. I mean, it's extremely beneficial for people like me, non-native speakers. So anytime when someone said to me, write this mail in a more polite way, I sat there and said, yes, but how? And now I have ChatGPT and can just say, okay, how would Joe Rogan phrase this question? Or how would a PR professional from politics in the United States phrase this point in a more polite way? And this is so beneficial to have it immediately 10 different ideas from, which looks to me like coming from specialists, and they can sit there and just look and say, okay, I mean, this sounds odd, this is not me, but the 7th option sounds better than my initial idea. So why not try it out?
Right. Right. But do know, some of the information that is shared with me is not correct. So especially when you're looking for fact-based information, it's helpful for shaping that narrative. But some of the information it has shared with me is incorrect, especially about the state of New Jersey. So be mindful of the information.
This is so funny. A specialist said it's ChatGPT. It's not lying, it's hallucinations. I found this this term quite funny.
Right.
And This is so funny that this tool makes up answers like human beings instead of saying, okay, I have no information on that, or it's not in my database. It just starts creating information, creativity.
Right, that natural language, what the models that they fed in. And I was talking to a researcher at Rutgers yesterday, Zishan Ahmed, who is developing an AI ML center at Rutgers University for precision medicine. And we were talking about ChatGPT and how, it's not meant for the biomedical field. And he's got a technology that it will come out here in the next few weeks that will be published in Nature about his technology. So it's very exciting what's coming on the forefront to affect life sciences.
You said you have a business background. How does the business background help in your area of work in New Jersey in life science?
Yes. So, briefly, and just to back up that I'm part of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and I'm the sector lead for life sciences within the organization. It's the sector development department. We're a fairly new department that was formed out of Governor Murphy's 2018 economic development plan. And we work with industry, academic institutions, government agencies for a sector-based approach to grow and innovate in the state of New Jersey. We have a rich history of invention and innovation, and we want to reclaim that in the state of New Jersey. Thomas Edison is very famous of having his lab in New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we are the birthplace of invention, is what we like to say. And then Novartis developed their first CAR T therapy.
Can we stay a little bit at Edison?
Okay.
I mean, maybe have not done my research properly. I always thought Edison was in California, in Palo Alto. He was in New Jersey.
Maybe he spent some time in Palo Alto.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an Edison historian, but yeah, he spent some time in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and then we have a town that I actually live nearby called Edison, mm-hmm. New Jersey, which is named after Thomas Edison, where he had his lab and developed the telegraph and the phonograph, and all of his inventions and patents came out of New Jersey. So we like to we have this Menlo Park is where he started his lab. Mm-hmm. I believe in the 1870s. And we are the birthplace of innovation. So hopefully we can get your listeners aware of put New Jersey back on the map. And in the life sciences area, I mentioned Novartis developing their CAR T cell therapy first in New Jersey. And they're an international company, as you're well aware. Johnson & Johnson and Legend Biotech, both located in New Jersey, have partnered together to develop CARVYKTI, which was approved by the FDA as a cell therapy. And then Novartis was recently approved last year for Kymira, another cell therapy. And interestingly enough, Novartis, J&J, and Legend are all now partnering together. Novartis is going to be more of a contract manufacturer for the CARVYKTI in the state of New Jersey. So 3 large, great life science companies working together in the space of cell therapy. And then recently, Ferring Pharmaceuticals, also another international company, received approval for their bladder cancer, a gene therapy, and they're building a new plant in New Jersey for the manufacturing. And to bring it back to your question of my background in business research, it's reading those news stories and understanding the trends and listening to the earnings calls and knowing where leadership has interest in potentially for expansion or opportunities for acquisitions or promoting some of the deal flow for their business development teams is helpful. And that asset of knowing how to navigate business information when there's so much, I think, is a tremendous resource.
What got you interested in life science? I mean, it's a question I get very often. I also have a business background, and people quite frequently ask me, why life science? Why do we work with scientists? I mean, you are no scientist. What's the reason that got you into life science?
I mean, it's hard to not want to help save lives. So, while I'm not a scientist, to be part of that, to be just a piece of that pie to help these scientists. I was speaking to a gentleman this week who is developing a new cancer therapy And he was saying it's so difficult to navigate all these resources that are available in the state. And I said, that's where I can come in. I can help you know these resources while you focus on the important things and cure cancer. So working for academia was also very beneficial. It's knowing that I was helping the future workforce and those researchers at these institutions. And so I feel like between university and life sciences, it's really just helping the greater good.
That's, I can totally agree to that. It's really nice to see, especially when therapies develop to the market and really make an impact. Do you have some, can we dig deeper into some examples of your work where your work made an impact?
Yes, I think funneling people to our programs, we have over 60 products available in the state of New Jersey to support businesses. Two products, I think, in my tenure as the sector lead for life sciences. One program for more smaller companies is a program we offer twice a year called Founders and Funders. It's an opportunity where we pair companies, not just life science companies, all companies in our 8 strategic sectors with investors. And so we're holding the next one in November. We pair you with investors based on the stage and sector of your company. You meet with 6 to 8 investors over the course of a day, 10-minute conversations. It's these warm introductions that are most needed, especially in today's financial market. And to funnel so many life science companies who had the chance to then have a second conversation and a third conversation. So Founders and Funders has been rewarding to see that come through with our recent March event. And then we have a separate program called the Net Operating Loss Program, which is for both public and private companies, but biotech companies tend to take advantage of this program. It's an opportunity to sell off your New Jersey net operating losses for non-dilutive capital. So we have $75 million allocated each year to this program. The average award last year was $3.1 million to companies. So it's a lifeline to some of these biotech companies that don't see revenues for quite some time, and to sell off their losses. They can sell off up to 20 million and have access to that non-dilutive capital.
That's cool. That's absolutely cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's a unique program. Not very many states have that program. But it's something that I think one of our companies, the founder would say it's like having free money, to have.
How does it work for the companies exactly? Can we describe it a little bit deeper, a little bit in more detail?
Sure. So there are certain criteria you have to meet to be qualified in the program. And I don't want to go into those specific details, but essentially those net operating losses or unused R&D tax credits that you have for the state of New Jersey, you can apply to sell off that tax offset. So roughly that 9% tax offset of those losses will give you a certificate that you can sell them on the open market. So there are public companies who want to buy those tax credits to save on their books. So it's roughly 92 cents on the dollar that they can sell it off in the open market. So companies like PSE&G, Bank of America tend to be purchasers of these tax credits. So we open that window up once a year, every May to June. We're going through our applications right now. The applications look really good. I was able to bring quite a few biotech companies to be aware of this program. And then we'll announce the people who were able to succeed in, I think, October, November-ish, and they'll be able to start gaining access to that capital.
Yeah, this is extremely beneficial for life science companies. I mean, usually they accumulate losses in the first 5 to 10 years of their existence and then have these one-off deals where they sign off a deal with the pharma industry that usually has 100 millions or several hundred millions or billions, but before everything is a loss. And when they can turn it into capital and sell their losses, it's beneficial for other companies, and it definitely helps them to move their science forward.
Correct. In fact, a company that took advantage of the program for the first time last year, Iveric Bio, they're in New Jersey. They were just acquired this year by Astellas Pharma, for about $5.9 billion. So we like to think that we had a hand in that. Another company that had taken advantage of the program, Prevention Bio, they focus on diabetes. Diabetes treatment, and they were just acquired by Sanofi this year for I think $2.9 billion. So it's it's rewarding to see that our programs were helpful to keep these companies going, hopefully, and then be good target acquisitions for some of these large pharma companies.
It's an investment from New Jersey into the companies that later pays off. I think when a company then is acquired by the industry, they also have to pay taxes, of course, then at the end of the day. Did you ever do a calculation of how beneficial it is for your tax system to invest money via your programs into the companies at the earlier stages and then getting taxes back at later stages?
I don't know if that analysis has been done, but it's a good idea to see what that ROI might look like. And it's probably been done, and we have our economist team who might be working on something like that. But it would be good even to break out just the life science area and do some analysis.
This would be absolutely interesting. I think it's very beneficial. We had a similar system here in Austria. It was atypically silent partnerships where private persons, small businesses could also acquire the losses, invest in the companies, and then use the losses to get tax breaks. And I think it's tremendously beneficial for the states and for the countries in Europe. Here it's more countries, because the deals at the end of the day are really huge. And on the way up to the deal, companies pay other taxes. I mean, they also have to pay taxes for their employees. They also pay taxes on housing, when they rent something, when they acquire assets to run their businesses. So I think there must be a positive ROI. No, I have no doubt about it.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's just the tip of some of the programs that we have available in the state. And just getting the word out, and hopefully some of your listeners will be then interested in exploring New Jersey as a place to set up shop or invest in some of the companies in New Jersey.
To benefit from these programs, the companies must have their headquarters there, or can they also have subsidiaries?
Yes, so the requirements are you have to have under 225 employees in total across the world. And then it's based on your year of formation of how many employees you need in the state of New Jersey. So if you're under 3 years old, you need at least 1 employee in the state of New Jersey. Under 5 years old, you need 3 to 5 years old, you need 5 employees in the state. Over 5 years old, you need 10 employees in the state of New Jersey. And so there's some more criteria, but basically that's the summary. So it's that 225. A lot of public companies take advantage of the program, and they just have to hit that threshold of under 225 employees to leverage.
That's cool. Can we take a quick look on the cultural side of New Jersey? The reason why I asked this question is that last year I had a conversation with Jen Carway from Georgia. And I learned a lot about the region. Before I had a conversation with her, I always thought that the film industry is only in Hollywood, in California. This is what I see the most here in Europe, that we still have this, I mean, because of Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably, we still have this picture that the film industry is only in Hollywood. And she said, no, that's not true. The biggest location for the film industry in the United States is Georgia. And I'm curious to learn, what is New Jersey famous for?
Well, we are certainly the medicine chest of the country. We like to claim that as a life science. But I should mention, while you mentioned Georgia is a film capital, we are a contender for being a film capital as well.
Really?
Governor Murphy would like to think us as the East Coast Hollywood. So we have Netflix just announced they're building a studio in New Jersey. I don't know if you've watched the Apple TV show Severance, but that was filmed in New Jersey. Joker, the Batman film, was filmed in New Jersey. The new West Side Story filmed in New Jersey. So we have a strategic sector of film and digital media, and I have a colleague who oversees that as well. Clean energy and offshore wind are also huge sectors for us. We're building the first offshore wind port in southern part of New Jersey. And have developed several workforce training programs and even a wind institute to support that sector. Finance and professional services is another strategic sector for us. That includes things like esports, which we've developed an innovation center around esports and sports wagering. And then transportation and logistics, technology, I think I've covered the major sectors that we focused on. But life science is certainly the strong focus for New Jersey, given that we have major pharmaceutical headquarters here. A lot of the international companies have their US pharma headquarters here in New Jersey.
When you think about the speed in life science, you said that New Jersey is basically the capital in the United States for life science. And the innovation speed these days is just incredible. I think we talked about artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and when I see how fast it evolves in the last 6 months, I had also a few speakers on my podcast who talked about artificial intelligence in drug discovery and drug development. And I always wondered from the regional development perspective, how do you keep track of the latest trends and think about how they can influence your programs?
Yes, so and that is staying on top of trends is certainly difficult, and that's where those RSS feeds come in handy of me looking through all that news that comes through. Speaking of AI and drug discovery, I'm actually hosting an event on September 19th in person in Newark, New Jersey, on AI and drug discovery. We'll have a panel of folks discussing how they're leveraging AI in this area. There'll be a startup. I'll have an academic leader who's focused on that space, and then 2 publicly traded biotech pharma companies talking about how they're leveraging AI. So it's certainly coming up as the convergence of AI and life science. And we're finding more and more companies are seeking tech talent in the life science space. So we've developed some programs to make sure that we're keeping top of the trends that are happening. Another trend that we came across is, and speaking with our industry partners, especially in the cell and gene therapy space, is there was a need for training programs in cell and gene therapy in the clean room space. And so it's through these one-off conversations that we start to hear trends, and that's where the sector development team comes in handy, that we then bring together roundtables. So we have these executive roundtables where we bring in industry, government agencies, local county government, as well as state agencies and academic partners to hear about the needs and come up with solutions. So last year I ran a cell and gene therapy roundtable with several industry partners in the state, hearing about their needs. And since then, we have developed with our community college system a biomanufacturing pathways program. And Raritan Valley Community College is building the first clean room in the state for the community college, a simulated clean room to teach students gowning techniques, pipette techniques, to have these operators ready to go and be credentialed. We're hearing from our companies that it takes 6 to 9 months to get them trained, and then they're soon poached because this sector is just growing and changing rapidly. So we are looking forward to certifying these students. And so our major players such as Novartis, J&J Janssen, Legend Biotech, PTC can take advantage of these trained students and do the amazing work that they're doing.
I always wondered how that works in politics. I mean, I remember political processes as slow moving for a reason, so that you can really implement measures that have a huge effect on society over several decades. And instead of bouncing around from one idea to the other, now I see this incredible development speed all over the world globally, where technologies, I can't remember that in the 80s or 90s, technologies evolved so fast that basically every 6 months we see something new on the market that's rolled out immediately, very quickly. ChatGPT, I think it took them 1 month to reach a few million users or 100 million users. And in the past, the same, I think, took 10 years, minimum 15 years. Mm-hmm. When I look at politics now, I think the processes still, for a good reason, are slow moving, and then you have the world evolving at hyperspeed. How do you get these 2 worlds together? How does it work in politics?
Yeah, I mean, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, it is slow moving, but we are, given that the fact that I would love to have seen the biomanufacturing pathways jump very quickly, because the companies need it now. The industry needs it now. Unfortunately, we don't work at that kind of lightning speed. But I do think the fact that we were able to stand something up here in less than a year is very very good to see. It's getting that pipeline of K through 12 and high school students involved in this pipeline. And then staying on top of what's happening at our research institutions. So we're home to the top-ranked education system, Princeton University, and Rutgers University is our state institution with 80,000 students available. So knowing what those faculty are working on and the innovations they're focused on and getting federal funding from help us say, okay, this could be the next phase of innovation. Talking to our companies to know what they're working on in their R&D, as well as our life science investors. So we regularly speak with investors who are both located in the state and outside of the state investing in New Jersey to talk about what they're seeing as trends that are happening that help give us that intel to know what programs do we need to start implementing. I will mention, in fact, the governor is pulling together a roundtable for AI covering both the life science, the fintech, the financial services area, as well as general technology companies to understand where we need to play as a state to help us accelerate the work that's happening in AI. So it's this, keeping the lines of communication open, hearing what needs are, and then reacting with the appropriate resources and programs.
Yeah, I think it's extremely challenging. I mean, for example, when I think about lab space, I remember when I started in life science, everything was about chemistry. In 2006, then a few years later, everything was about biology. And some people say we don't need chemistry anymore. Then in the last podcast, Daniel Witt pointed out, now it's gene therapy. And then we had mRNA during the pandemic, and the demand shift very quickly. How does that influence the decision-making process when it comes to providing these very capital-intense assets like a lab space? I mean, you can't build a new building every year, remodel it completely the next year, and then rebuild it completely. It would consume tremendous amounts of capital. How do you handle this?
Yes, I mean, I think lab space will always be something that's needed. We have much more lab space coming online, but we have quite a bit of lab space in the state of New Jersey. In fact, I was just speaking to our community partner at Raritan Valley Community College, who's developing this Pathways program, and we're setting up one-on-one calls with our industry partners to learn about their requirements that they're seeing for their trained operators, so they can make sure they are developing the skills for the workforce of tomorrow. And what does that look like? In fact, we have a company that's announcing their location in New Jersey here next week. So I can't mention information, but they have developed a cell therapy automation system, which will be exciting to potentially not need as many operators, but also then changes the landscape of, do we need such a training program? But we equated it to EV vehicles and gas vehicles, that there will always, it'll take some time before we switch to not needing full-on labs, as the EV market will take some while to adopt. And there will always be companies that really just need those traditional labs. So I'm not fearful of lab space going away quite yet. But hopefully it will reduce the time. Right now, the cost for gene therapy and cell therapy is just outrageous. I'm not outrageous, but I think when it comes to investment, venture firms are less likely because of the one and done aspect of these treatments. And so if we can scale to where cell therapy and gene therapy is less expensive and more people can get the access they need to treat these diseases, I think that would be a positive.
Yeah, lab space is always scarce, especially here in Europe. A good reason to go to the US when you have more space available. I think life science is one of the areas where academia, governments, and industry needs to work together on a larger scale. And for me, one of the best examples is still the pandemic that showed when academia, the industry, and governments really interlink what is possible in a very short time, bringing new therapies, new vaccines to the market in basically less than a year. I thought before 2020, this is impossible. It will never happen at that speed, but when everything works together, frictionless, it is possible. Do you have, except mRNA, do you have one example in New Jersey that we can probably discuss a little bit more in detail that shows how academia works together with the government and the industry to move new therapies or vaccines forward?
I mean, you brought up the COVID example of how everyone worked together, and it may not be known that Rutgers University was the first to develop the saliva test, the FDA emergency authorization for the saliva test of COVID. And that company, or that technology, then spun out of Rutgers University. It's now a company called Sampled, and they are a large now company here in the state of New Jersey. We're very proud of that emergency authorization use that they had to help treat during the pandemic. I think when industry, academia, and government come together, we have a really exciting initiative happening in the state of New Jersey right now. We're building an innovation hub in New Brunswick, New Jersey. This is a $731 million investment in the state. It's dubbed Helix, which is the Health and Life Sciences Exchange. It will have 3 buildings in total. Phase 1 is starting right now. It's 574,000 square feet. It will be home to Rutgers Medical School. It will be home to a Rutgers Translational Research, and we will have a space for companies to incubate there. Princeton University will have a footprint there. Robert Wood Johnson Medical will have a footprint there, and Hackensack Meridian, another large hospital system in our state, will have a footprint. So we see this hub as, bench to bedside, where these companies can be right next to the clinical research that's happening at our research institutions. The second building will be a space for companies to build. It'll be about 600,000 square feet, and we expect this to come online in 2025. It is the largest investment for research in translational medicine that the state has made. And so we're very excited about this partnership. It's also right across the street from the Amtrak station. And if you don't know, if your listeners aren't aware, with New Jersey, we are really in the heart of the Northeast Corridor. Northern New Jersey is 20 minutes away from Manhattan, and about 3 hours away by train to DC. And this hub will be in New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is right across from that Amtrak station, as I mentioned, so you can get to DC, to Boston very easily. And hopefully people will stop off and see the amazing lives that are being saved in the Helix.
This is cool. This is cool. This is cool. Let's tackle the next big problem more in detail that life science companies have. I mean, when I look from the European perspective at the development of a company, initially it's pretty easy. We have, I think, the world's best grant funding system here in Europe with Horizon and local initiatives. But after that, in Europe, there's not much capital. So any company after Series A needs to look for investors outside Europe. It's just our reality. How is the availability of capital, of investment funds, of fund managers, of venture capital, of banks in New Jersey for life science companies?
Yes, so it's a great question. And I mentioned some of the other products that we have and resources to connect you to investors at Founders and Funders. We have a really exciting program that has launched called the New Jersey Innovation Evergreen Fund. This is a $600 million fund to invest in New Jersey companies, not just life science, but life science, one of the strategic sectors, of course. Let me give you a little background on this program. It's really unique, and we don't know of another state that's quite doing it. We have allocated about $300 million to sell off tax credits to profitable companies. We did that tax auction last fall and had folks bid on tax credits. They can essentially save up to 25% on their New Jersey corporate business tax. And we sold off about $50 million in corporate tax credits to these companies to seed our fund. In addition to getting that transaction of that savings on their corporate business tax, they also had to commit to being involved in the New Jersey innovation ecosystem. And that could be anything from getting involved in our research institutions to providing space to startup companies. So companies that took advantage of that first initial auction were people like Daiichi Sankyo, who has a location here in New Jersey, Haleon, which is the consumer spinoff of GSK, and Verizon and Comcast. For example, Haleon is working with our Rutgers Business School to do some innovation work. Daiichi Sankyo is working with our pharmacy school to work closely with those students. And so now that we've seeded that fund, we're now ready to help deploy that capital. And how it can work is venture firms that are interested in investing in New Jersey can tap into our fund, and we'll match up to $6.25 million in funding if they find a New Jersey company they want to invest in. We'll even pay the fees and carry on that investment alongside with that venture firm, and we'll reserve funds for follow-on capital. So this is very exciting. We've approved 7 fund managers so far. We approved our first round of fund managers in May. We approved another round just this last month, and we have 3 more we're approving in the next month's board meeting. And we plan to make our first investment, our first match in October. And so if any investors are interested in getting involved, we can onboard them into this program where they don't have to have their investment identified yet. But if there are companies that are thinking about trying to gain access to capital, setting up a location in New Jersey, the requirement there is you need 50% of your workforce in New Jersey. And it's actually 50% of your US workforce. We don't necessarily count the international workforce. So that could be attractive to some of your international listeners. Then separately, we have another program that we're standing up that we received some funds from the federal government. It's a $60 million life science fund to invest in New Jersey life science companies. We've chosen 3 fund managers to oversee roughly 25 million of that fund, and they will match it with their private dollars. So our public dollars and their private dollars. We're signing the contracts now. We hope that capital will start to be deployed later this year to have these companies start looking for life science companies. The 3 firms we've selected are Tech Council Ventures, Citrix Bio, and Signet Healthcare Partners. And so we're looking forward to seeing that activity grow. We think with the Evergreen Fund, we'll encourage more VC to come into New Jersey. We don't have a lot of venture capital firms. While we're right next to the financial markets in New York City, we don't have a lot of venture firms having an office in New Jersey. So we're hoping that encourages that. And I should mention that Evergreen Fund, that strategic commitment, the folks who were part of the auction sit on a board. The venture firms we qualify will sit on the board, and then those investments they made will also be part of that board. So hopefully the startups that get invested to can talk to Daiichi Sankyo very easily, and potentially there's some partnerships and some strategic alliances that can take place.
You mentioned that New Jersey invests basically or hands over capital to fund managers. Must the funds be located in New Jersey, or would it be sufficient that they invest in companies in New Jersey but have their offices elsewhere in the United States?
Correct. Yeah, those investors can be located anywhere in the world. In fact,
sorry to interrupt. Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world. Yep. They have to invest.
Sorry to interrupt you again. So basically, a fund located in Austria who is willing to invest in companies in New Jersey and manage capital on behalf of your organization of New Jersey, of the government of New Jersey, can also apply for this program. Correct. Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot of trust.
We want to encourage investment. So we onboard them into the program, the qualified venture firms, and there are certain criteria. They have to have at least 10 million in assets under management. They have to have at least 2 fund managers with at least 5 years of experience. And once they are onboarded on our platform, if they find an investment in New Jersey they want to invest in, we will match one-on-one up to $6.25 million. I will say it's $5 million as the base, but if it's a women or minority-owned business or a technology that's spun out of our research institutions, it can get bonus points up to $6.25 million. And we will be a special purpose vehicle alongside their investment, and we will match their terms.
No, this is great. I think there will be many European funds interested in that. I mean, naturally, they must work together with US funds to move their own assets forward. And with that, they also have interest to invest in companies in the United States. So if you can match their investment with more capital, I think this is definitely beneficial. And the funds I know in life science, they all have more than 10 million assets under management. And
get the word out.
Yeah, sure. We do with the podcast. I would point it out.
And I should mention we have a really attractive angel investor tax credit. So any investors, if they are investors in Austria that invest in a New Jersey company, and these could be friends and family, angel investors, they can get a 20% credit back from the New Jersey state of their investment. So if they invest $100,000 in a New Jersey company and they have no tax liability in the state of New Jersey, they will essentially get a check for $20,000.
But they must be accredited investors in the United States.
No, no.
Isn't that unfair for the Europe? I mean, the US angel investors, as far as I remember, must be accredited investors, so they must run through the process.
No, this is, it could be friends and family that make the investment too. So if I decide to invest in it, there might be a conflict of interest with my working for the government, but
just for example, for the sake of the example,
several friends and family invest in companies, and in fact, if you are a New Jersey company and you own less than 80% of your company, your own investment in the company can qualify for the credit. It also increases to 25% if you're a woman minority-owned business. So it's a very attractive program. We have several international investors that take advantage of this angel tax credit, and trying to get the word out of these companies. As soon as I get alerts that somebody received funding, I try to message them to let them know that they can let their investors take advantage of this program. Of course, there are criteria about the number of employees you need in the state of New Jersey and when you file that application. But I think just making people aware of this program could pique their interest.
Is there, maybe I overheard it, is there a certain age that companies must have as a minimum or maximum to apply for these programs? So for example, when an investor, I'm just thinking about a practical case, European company starts in Europe, and then for the sake of clinical trials, accessing the US market and accessing more capital, they create a subsidiary, transform it into a headquarter, then for example in New Jersey, and but already have, I think most of them are above 5 years of age. Then they found the new company, prepare for an IPO on the Nasdaq usually. Would this also be a company, a case that you would support as a government?
It could be. There are different criteria. So they would need 75% of their workforce in the state of New Jersey for the angel tax credit program. And so it depends on if the subsidiary, what those employees look like. But essentially, yes, it would all depend on, and they would have to be in one of our strategic sectors, life sciences being one of those strategic sectors. But we have all the criteria on our website. It's with all the 60 programs, though it does get very confusing. So I'm happy to address any questions if there are companies who want to learn more about that program. I should mention we have a sister organization called Choose New Jersey. They are our business traction arm, a nonprofit organization, and they help companies who are looking to set up shop in New Jersey. We work really closely with them to provide financial incentive products, but they can help people get acclimated to the U.S. market. They can also help with site selection. They do market analysis on salaries of jobs across the state of New Jersey and do some comparison. If people are looking at Boston or New Jersey, they help do some analysis there. So a great organization, but people can start with me and I can make referrals as needed.
Now, usually these companies hire high-level executives when they prepare for an IPO on one hand. On the other hand, usually clinical project managers, also scientists who collaborate and work together with universities. So it's not just opening an office for a year or so to get some tax credits or tax breaks and then leave. It's more having an established headquarter that lasts usually longer, 5, 10 years, 15 years, depends on when the company is acquired. So I would not be worried about that. It sounds very attractive. I was not aware about that the United States or that states in the United States are so helpful for relocating companies to their territory.
Indeed. And we have a great program called NJEDA, where we help companies who are just getting started set up in our co-working facilities, and we'll pay for half of their rent. So it's a grant program where it's a rent subsidy program where we'll pay for 6 of their 12-month lease, let's say. We have 2 facilities that in particular are very attractive to biotech companies, one being one that we own called the New Jersey Bioscience Center in North Brunswick. It's an incubator space that starts with 900 square feet of private labs, and then you can expand as needed. Those are 1-year leases with a 5-year max, and then you move on to potentially our step-out labs, which are also part of that campus, which are more 3,000, 5,000 square feet. And then we also have Princeton Biolabs. You might be familiar with the Biolabs brand. We have Princeton Biolabs in Princeton, New Jersey. They are in partnership with Princeton University. And they have shared bench space as well as private lab space, wet lab and dry lab space. But those two partners are two of the primary partners that we partner with for our NJ Ignite program, where we'll pay for half of that lease. So if somebody's looking to just start to set up shop in New Jersey, that's an attractive program.
You mentioned Princeton and other universities. It made me think about talent. I think this is the third problem that companies usually face. One is lab space when they are early in their development. With that comes then also access to clinics, to patients when they are in clinical development. The second one is access to capital, which is a huge problem that companies have to tackle and face. Usually you need a lot of investment before a deal happens, before the industry steps in. And the third one is access to talent. Mm-hmm. When I think about the European landscape, it can be sometimes challenging to relocate people 100 miles. For example, when I look in the surroundings of Vienna, it's the city where I live, 100 miles to the north, you have a different language. 100 miles to the east, you have a different language, different jurisdiction. 100 miles to the south, it's pretty much the same. English is well spoken all over Europe in offices, but once you travel to more rural areas, people are not so keen about speaking English. They want to have their mother tongue. So it's challenging for people, for example, from the Czech Republic, when they don't speak German, to come to Vienna or to live in Styria, in small areas. Styria is the area where Arnold Schwarzenegger grew up. And how is it in the United States? I think when companies decide to set up shop in New Jersey, how easy or difficult is it to relocate talent, for example, from San Francisco to New Jersey or from Boston to New Jersey?
We have a large and skilled and talented workforce in the state of New Jersey. We have about 445,000 life science workers in the state of New Jersey. While we are the fourth smallest state in the nation, we are the most densely populated state, and we're the fourth most diverse state in the country. We like to claim that we are the highest dense population of scientists and engineers per square mile. So it's a very skilled workforce. We are the second largest population of foreign-born residents, and 44% of our residents have a bachelor's degree. The national average is 34%. So it's this skilled and diverse workforce that I think we hear from companies all the time of why they've located and chosen New Jersey. In fact, I was just at a ribbon cutting last week at Gilead Sciences. You might be familiar with Gilead. They have their headquarters in California, but they chose New Jersey as their East Coast hub purely because of the talent. They thought the talent was bar none, that they could access this level of talent of life science workers to grow their company. And so they plan to hire 500 workers here in the state of New Jersey. So it's very exciting. We're hoping that expansion continues as they focus on their oncology efforts here in the state. And many companies, Eisai opened their New Jersey corporate headquarters last year in Nutley, New Jersey. They are a Japanese company you might be familiar with their Alzheimer's drug that they were approved for. And so we even have smaller biotechs that just choose New Jersey because of the talent. We have their prestigious research institutions that are spurring out great talent, and from our NJIT has a professional master's degree in cell and gene therapy, as well as a graduate certificate in cell and gene therapy. I think they might be the only one in the country that has that type of professional degree. And the densely populated, highly skilled workforce make talent very attractive to these companies.
That's true. Thank you for mentioning Gilead. It adds some more color to my Gilead storytelling. It was back in 2017 when I visited Tokyo, when I started talking with a tech transfer officer from the Czech Republic. And it was a research institution in Prague, in the capital of the Czech Republic. And I always thought, okay, Prague, life science, there is not much going on. I mean, the most important hubs in Europe are basically London, the Nordics. You can say we have Munich in continental Europe, and of course, Austria also plays a part. But I wasn't aware that something is going on in the Czech Republic. And at this time, I was working with the UCL in London and evaluated the collaboration with this Czech organization. So I flew in from Austria, the colleagues from the UCL in London flew in from London. We met in Prague and had an 8 hours presentation. And part of this presentation was that the directors of this institution said the pipeline of Gilead in the 90s started in Prague, in the Czech Republic.
Oh.
And I wasn't aware of that. And it's really true. So one of their researchers wanted to commercialize some assets from after the 1989 change in the political landscape. They wanted to commercialize an asset. And he became friends with the founders of Gilead and provided the first assets. And Gilead paid a lot of licensing fees then back to Prague. And they have built a very nice facility in the heart of Europe with 700 world-class chemists who push basic research in chemistry forward with the money Gilead provides via the licensing deal. So it's really...
Wow, that is amazing. And great to see that innovation, hopefully then continuing. We would hope that continues in New Jersey as well.
No, absolutely. I mean, if Gilead already is there, it's a good reason for European researchers then also elaborate and connect with the story then in New Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very exciting.
There is a second part that I was thinking of while you were talking, foreign residents. I mean, usually when Europeans relocate the company, also part of the workforce, of course, needs to be then in the United States. How easy or difficult is it to get work permits for the employees, work permits for the executives, so they can travel freely within the United States and also spend sufficient time in the United States to move the company forward? Is this a challenge, or is this a straightforward process?
And this is something that I don't tend to work on all that much. That's where our Choose New Jersey organization is super helpful. They have access to those resources from legal resources, accounting resources, talent recruitment resources, to make sure people have the tools they need to set up shop in the state of New Jersey. And we have many companies setting up, many international companies setting up. NJEDA, for example, just announced they are setting up a $50 million plant in Princeton, New Jersey. They are an Indian company. And we have several other expansions that I can't be talking about right now, but that are coming in the way, that a lot of international companies choose to set up their locations here in New Jersey.
So it doesn't seem to be very complicated and an unsolvable riddle.
I don't see that changing anything, but I do think they hire from the United States a lot of the talent that already exists here. And I think that's one of the reasons they choose, because they have that talent that exists. With the interconnectedness of the small companies to the large companies, there's just a talent pool that's so concentrated that people don't have to struggle for talent. We're speaking to a company now that is struggling for talent where they're at right now. And they're then thinking about relocating to New Jersey purely because of the talent.
That's good to know. I'm also thinking about cultural aspects. I mean, when we have a headquarters or subsidiary in Europe and the other part of the company, the United States, sometimes people just need to meet some people from the United States, then need to spend some time, some months here in Europe to get to know the European workforce, understand the processes in the company, and also the other way around. Europeans need to work then in the United States for a couple of months or several years with the people that are basically at the headquarters subsidiary in the United States. So this seemed to be very, very simple then. It's not very difficult to organize that.
And we are really just centrally located. And if you haven't been to New Jersey, it's pretty amazing that you can access the mountains, the beaches, you have Manhattan and Philly and everything in between. So we really have this great pharma corridor across our whole central New Jersey area. So
let's use this opportunity to talk a bit about what people do when they don't work. I think quality of life is also a crucial role, especially for Europeans. What can people do at the weekend in New Jersey?
Well, like I said, we have our Jersey Shore, our famous Jersey Shore of beaches. We have several, we have part of the Appalachian Trail in the state of New Jersey. And we have quality of life. I should mention, we have the #1 K-12 education system in the country. So when companies think to locate and bring a workforce over, knowing that they have a great place to live for their family, to live and work. We have professional sports teams. In fact, we are one of the host cities for the FIFA World Cup. This upcoming World Cup, we will be hosting one of those games.
It's in 2 years, isn't it? I think
2 years. Yes.
Cool.
Yes, so we don't know. I don't think it's been announced which game we'll get, but we are excited. That will be held at MetLife Stadium at East Rutherford, New Jersey.
How did it happen? I think whenever I thought about the United States, I think it was 3 or 4 different sports that came to my mind. It's American football.
Yeah.
It's basically football. It's baseball, basketball, and I think also hockey.
Yes.
Very stereotypical. And lately, I think in the last 5 years or 6 years, soccer became more and more accepted and tolerated. And now it's a huge movement. How did it happen?
I don't know how did we acquire the bid for the FIFA World Cup, or how did soccer become
How did soccer become so famous in the United States basically in no time? Do you have a theory?
I don't have a theory. I think we are a sports nation. I mean, American football tends to be the most popular. I mean, right now we're in preseason, so it's very New Jersey Jets are our team, and we are very excited that Aaron Rodgers has been selected to be our quarterback here in the state. So I don't know if you're following American football, but there's a lot of excitement happening there. And then with the FIFA World Cup, I think that's going to bring even more excitement to the state. So we're looking forward to hosting one of those games.
That's great. That's great. I think Europeans will love it.
Exactly.
A good reason to relocate to New Jersey.
That's right. That's right. Purely because of the World Cup.
What else is going on in New Jersey? I mean, there's a lot of sports, also American football, soccer, I'm pretty sure also baseball and basketball. What else on the cultural side?
Gosh, we have just so many culturally diverse towns across the state. We have great restaurants and nightlife activities that happen. I mean, we are a booming state of activity. There's just not a lack of things to do. In fact, I'm going hiking tomorrow. You can hike across many trails in the state of New Jersey. As I mentioned, you have the beaches. Several folks that I know have sailing opportunities that they go on. So it's rich with cultural activity. And you can easily go to Broadway and Manhattan easily by train. And you know, Bruce Springsteen was supposed to play in Philly, I think, earlier this week. So there's plenty of nightlife that happens.
So you said it's just 3 hours, basically to Philadelphia, 3 hours to Boston, 20 minutes to New York.
It depends on where you're at in New Jersey, but if you're in northern New Jersey, it's about 20 minutes to Manhattan, about 3 hours to DC. Philly is about, depending on where you're located, 1 hour to 2 hours away by car. And then Boston is another, depending on where you're at in New Jersey, maybe 2 to 3 hours north of us by train.
So it sounds to me like, I mean, you mentioned hiking. It sounds to me like you can enjoy big city life with New York, as well as on the weekends, then the countryside with hiking and beaches.
Absolutely. And we have a rich agricultural region as well. I have a colleague who covers food and beverage manufacturing in the state, because we have several large players there, and we have a wine country. So a lot of the southern New Jersey is agricultural. I think we are one of the top ranked for tomato production, eggplant production, and red pepper production in the world. So we are rich with farm as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the future. It's always funny for me to look into the crystal ball with my speakers. How do you envision the future for life science in New Jersey?
Gosh, there's so many exciting initiatives happening right now. I mentioned the hub, the Helix, that's coming online. In the near term, very exciting new development coming online is what's called the NEST, the Northeast Technology Center, which is the old Merck headquarters in Kenilworth, New Jersey. So Merck is still in New Jersey. They're in Rahway, New Jersey, but their old headquarters is going to be converted to this life science campus. It's a sprawling, a huge, massive headquarters that's going to come online next year that will be home to large companies and small startup companies. And it's just 14 miles outside of New York City. We also have a very exciting project in Jersey City, which is just outside of New York City as well, called SciTech City. This is in conjunction with Liberty Science Center. They are building a campus that will include a STEM high school, a residential scholars village, but what we're excited about is EdgeWorks. EdgeWorks is an 8-story incubation center focused on digital health. So these won't be labs. This will be more of that AI and digital health on how we can create the new innovations to focus on digital health. So Sheba Medical Center, you might be familiar with, one of the top hospitals, is setting up on the 8th floor, and they're going to be building the hospital of the future. What does the OR of the future look like? What does your home look like in the future? And then all the other floors will have a conference center and incubation companies that can play alongside with Sheba Medical Center. So while that is in the process of being built, Sheba Medical Center plans to do a pop-up location to allow companies to start that incubation process. We also have just recently partnered with HAX, which is in partnership with SOSV, a venture firm. And this is a hard tech accelerator that focuses on climate tech, and it's located in Newark, New Jersey, that we partner with. They do have a few med devices that I'm very excited that are coming out of HAX, but a lot of the climate tech that they're developing too. They fund their companies about $250,000, and we have a program where we'll match that $250,000 for graduates that want to stay in New Jersey. And then lastly, I think I should mention that Governor Murphy has signed a bill to create a maternal and infant health innovation center in our city of Trenton, New Jersey, which is our capital. And this will have research and policy, clinical operations, and then space for incubation companies to set up shop there. So we have lots of things happening right now around digital health, maternal and infant health, campuses available for people to co-collaborate, such as Helix and Nest. So New Jersey is a hotbed of activity right now.
When I think of my life, I have several interests. So one is health, the other one is the digital world, and media is the third one. And when I started in life science, drug discovery in 2006, I perceived the world basically as silos. You had this drug discovery, drug development silos. So investors who wanted to invest in life science, in drug discovery, solely did work in drug discovery. The same is for media, and the same is for digital health. And you always felt a bit sorry for these areas not being connected, since I believe in convergence of technologies. When I look now at the big developments in the world, they happen because technologies are coming together. You mentioned in the last hour several initiatives of your state in drug discovery, in drug development, in artificial intelligence, in digital health. How do you help these researchers to come together to discuss how they can revolutionize medicine and how they can revolutionize the healthcare system, and don't fall into the habit of becoming silos again, so they just not connect? How do you foster connections between these disciplines?
And I think that's where we come up. We have something, an initiative called Strategic Innovation Centers, which is place-based economic development. And so what I mentioned with the Helix, we are an equity partner in that, and we have funded that to help bring together industry, academia, and government agencies to work together physically in the same space. Nest will also hopefully have an academic partner come online to that area. So it's not these silos, that people have the ability to connect physically on campuses together. SciTech City will also have that mix of incubation along with us, hopefully in the space, and government agencies as well as academic institutions. So having more of these place-based economic development hubs will only encourage and foster more innovation. And then making sure people are leveraging our programs that we have to help finance and spur that innovation.
That's great. I'm coming to the end of my questions. Is there any topic open that you would like to discuss in this recording that I didn't mention yet?
No, I really appreciate the conversation and having the opportunity to share New Jersey with your listeners. I think, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I tend to post news that's happening with our New Jersey companies. We have that upcoming AI event on September 19th. We're also having another event at Princeton Biolabs on September 28th about some of our New Jersey companies that are spurring innovation around life sciences. And so, feel free to reach out if I can be a resource to your listeners. We have many programs and we're here to support entrepreneurs and major biopharma companies.
Definitely. Then let's come to the call to action. What is the best way for researchers, for investors, for startups, or for the industry, for bigger corporations to connect with your programs? After listening to this episode, what should they do as a next step?
Yes, so you can easily go to our website, NJEDA.com. And take a look at our financial incentive programs. It is a little overwhelming. There are so many of them. So I'm happy to have a conversation to discuss which ones fit for your specific needs. Investors, I encourage you to get involved with our Evergreen program. We are reviewing many qualified investors and excited to bring more investment to the state of New Jersey. And startups who are looking to gain access to that capital, contact me and we can talk about some of the other programs we have available. Lastly, I should mention we have a portal called Research with New Jersey. So it's researchwithnj.com. And this is where you can search across all of our faculty expertise across our state. So it's a portal that aggregates all those research papers and inventions that have happened at our research institutions for collaboration activities.
That's super helpful. My final question is, how can people connect with you? Do you monitor your LinkedIn profile? Because I usually link the LinkedIn profiles of the speakers.
LinkedIn is the best way to reach out. Reach out to me via LinkedIn and we can share email addresses, or you can reach me at Kara.Moore, MOORE at njeda.gov.
Kara, thank you very much for this amazing conversation. I am so happy to hear that governments all over the world continue to help companies, young companies, startups, researchers, scientists, and also big corporations move forward, connect, and hopefully we can bring the next wave of new therapies, new digital health solutions to the society globally together.
Thank you, Christian. I appreciate the time, and let us know when you're in New Jersey.
Absolutely, I will. Kara, have a great day and have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.